What ruins a movie for you? When the trailer gives you the entire story or all the funny parts. Forced romantic subplot and cringy comedy relief characters. When the entire plot relies on a misunderstanding that could have been resolved with 30 seconds of talking. Wait, I can explain. Quote, doesn't explain. Main character not getting hit by a single bullet when ambushed. My parents watching it with me. Kids. Kid actors. I had how terrible kid actors always are. I hate how kids are always drugged up placid morons. I hate how the heroes always care way too much about some random kid. Those kid actors also grow up to have some of the worst lives. For most of them, the reason they're actors in the first place is because they have terrible parents. Irrational characters such as leaders who know they're leading their people into a trap but do it anyway. Characters who make connections between plot points that makes absolutely no sense. Characters who are supposed to be ordinary people reacting in ways an ordinary person wouldn't. Romance that blossoms out of nowhere with zero chemistry between said characters, etc. Sex scenes. They're completely unnecessary 99% of the time. I don't need a 3-minute montage of two people moving around under a blanket, maybe with a titty popped out, to understand that they are romantically involved. Just fucking stop wasting time on this shit. As a 30-year-old man, sex scenes are boring to me unless they are used to tell the viewer about the character's relationship. There's so much free porn that the rare theatrical titty does nothing for me. And I'm sure countless teenagers would say the same thing nowadays. Greater than the rare theatrical titty, this, said by David Attenborough in hushed tones over footage of a bird. Sex is the same as violence. If it isn't driving the plot or characters forward, then it's entirely gratuitous and pointless, and the sign of a director who doesn't understand story. When the good guy is ripping the bad guy's posse to shreds for the whole movie. Then when the bad guy finally gets the drop on the good guy, instead of just blasting him in the head, they take him prisoner to recite a villain monologue, which the good guy inevitably escapes from. Monsieur. See John Wick. Great movie apart from that bullshit part. Sex or makeout scenes and unnecessary relationships. This 100% unless it actually makes complete sense with the story. Ironically enough, the trailers. They're getting so bad. It's like you can practically tell what's going to happen. They show some of the most cool scenes and now they're lying to you too. Plot jumps that make no sense. One in particular that's very overused is when the protagonist walks into a bar, makes eye contact with someone random, and the next scene they're having sex or just finished having sex. To me that just shows me that the writers don't know how the characters interact and so didn't bother to show the audience. I don't know, I think in that case the fact that they end up having sex with each other immediately after meeting at a bar tells you all that you need to know about the dynamic of the characters. Scripted flirting does not really make for captivating television in my experience. I am happy to skip over those parts. TBH, any hookup scene in film, TV often just feels like, and now we're going to put in a sex scene. Because money please. Shaky cams, fuck that noise. Horror movies that just start killing characters off without giving me a reason to care about them in the first place. Oh no, that guy who talked about how much he loves his wife just died. How tragic. That's not character development, you fucking banana. We need to get into the mainframe. Violently rolls face along a keyboard plugged into an Xbox. I'm in. Quote, the non-stop quick edits. Looking at you, Taken 3. In comedies, it's someone screaming, shrieking or being really loud, and that is supposed to be the joke or a funny scene. Hackers who conveniently hack into security systems, defuse a bomb, etc. It seems like the writers run out of ideas and bring in the hacker, who pounds on his keyboard for a minute tops and voila. Asterisk type 732 WPM asterisk I'm in. A bad soundtrack. Bad casting. Humor that's basically just bullying, and overuse of any one camera trick. Overdone rape scenes. I don't want to see that shit. Best example is I Spit on Your Grave. Thought it would mainly be about the girl getting revenge, but nope, it was just 45 minutes of her gang rape. American propaganda and stereotyping of other nations and countries, especially the Russians. Always the same actors playing Russians, who are mostly not even Russians, portrayed as half-literate and living with wild bears somewhere in Siberia. Not to mention when they show Arab Peninsula. That is just embarrassing. I might be European and have a different perspective, but I get so annoyed when I see this. I just can't take the movie seriously anymore. And oh boy, when the American gangster starts speaking some Slavic language like badass, and in reality it sounds like a retarded moose speaking. I'm done. The cringe just becomes too strong. Fake deaths and characters talking to themselves. When it tries to go for a twist that doesn't make sense. I feel this has gone really bad in TV shows for a while, where they tried so hard to hit the audience over the head with the ending that the great conclusion was just, so it's this guy, remember him? No, he was there in season 3 for a bit. Yeah, that guy. When I can't hear the dialogue because the background noises and/or score are too loud, or the actor is mumbling. When the whole plot of the movie is the world equals incompetent, USA equals the holy savior of all. Have characters who do nothing but complain about problems. If something is easily explainable but the character doesn't let the other one explain. And adults acting childish like this in general. It really bothers me when modern films still fail the Bechdel test. I know it's not the best way to measure a film, but if you treat all your female characters like cardboard cutouts, then haven't you lost 50% of your audience? It's baffling. It's such a low bar to meet that I don't understand why there are movies with women that still aren't passing the cliché, I hate you, but then I love the fuck out of you after a barely significant moment. Quote, US propaganda. Unnecessary sexual stuff? When a character in a movie makes a decision or does something stupid that is clearly only done to move the plot forward. Cringe jokes, mostly kid actors, forced romance, obvious outcomes, poor voice acting, and a lot more. Unnecessary singing, or love scenes in an action movie. I guess you don't have many Indian favorites then. Hee. Yes, Bollywood is hell on wheels to me. Like, Frozen, Lark, horror giving a kid asthma to manufacture tension. I seen that at least 10 times and it was good the first few, but then it just became a dumb cliché. Lack of chemistry between love interests. I like Contact, but the love affair of the though leads feels fake AF. Not laughing at a joke cause it was in the trailer. Failed comic relief. It's usually when a character has too much focus on their humor and not on the plot. Snark is fine, but in the post-Friends world, instead of clever there's just sarcasm with a smirk, and teens think it's charming playfulness because it's from somebody attractive. Complete clichés like falling in love with the person who was right in front of your face the entire time. She only a bombshell after take of the glasses and let the hair down. Fucking hate this. Having lived a few years on this planet, there's often a good reason why the best friend wasn't considered. Like, some people can get along great as friends, but be a disaster as partners. When they take really small bites of their food and chew it like they have a mouthful. Explaining something that doesn't need explaining. Killing the mystery behind something or someone. Vin Diesel type characters that don't get beat, but beat everybody else and are immortal for no reason. Bad CGI when you know the company has money. Generic plots and plot devices. Bad comic relief characters. Flash, the younger brother in Monsieur Knight's The Visit, and the bromance between Hobbs and Shaw. Characters making completely irrational decisions. I hate punny, cringy comedy. Give me some dry humor. In those cringy comedies I always laugh at the parts where no one is supposed to laugh. I wouldn't really say it ruins a movie, but it pisses me off immensely. You're watching a movie or TV show and there's a 5-minute scene during nighttime, or in a barely lit house. Then bam, it's daytime all of a sudden and my eyes are screaming in pain, like someone threw a flashbang into the room. Monsieur, directors who do this need to stop. Political statements. When the age doesn't match, like Tokyo Drift, the guy is a student and looks like 28. Unnecessary sex scenes. Is there such a thing as a necessary sex scene? I take it you've never seen The Room. Which room? You'll know it when you see it. Oh, hi Mark. Quote, where everyone looks like a generic jobbing LA actor. Actors blatantly taking off their shirts while it is clearly unnecessary to plot development. Woman is victim of sexual assault. Immediately after wants to bang her boyfriend, random dude who saved her. Seems a little unrealistic. Romance. Unnecessary killings. Obnoxious acting, bad accents. Jacked up military uniforms. If you know enough to include it, you know enough to wear it correctly. And no, they aren't required by law to wear the uniform incorrectly. That rumor was born from a misunderstanding of an old SCOTUS ruling. They can and are actually encouraged to wear it properly by the Department of Defense. Laugh tracks. I feel like sexism ruins a movie for me. I know for a white male to be saying this it sounds rather nitpicky, but I just find it rather cringe when a woman is portrayed as weak or someone is like, no you can't do that because of your gender. Force sex scenes that aren't plot relevant. It's usually just some fantasy of some thirsty director that wants to film porn but doesn't have the balls to do it. Like the scene in 300. We knew Leonidas loved his wife by the way they interacted, we didn't the porn shoot. Bad dialogue and no chemistry between the actors. Any backstory about how the main character had love before some tragedy that illustrates that love. With a woman scream laughing. It's more common than you think of. You're looking for it. Not necessarily ruins, but it pisses me off. I hate it when the entire world is saved by a freaking 15-year-old. It makes no sense for a child to have the capability to save the world, monsieur. They should at least be like 30 to 40 for it to be remotely believable. And every kid show ever that makes all the adults the dumbest, most incompetent people on earth, while the kids are super geniuses and running the town. Feather light empty coffee cups. How hard could it be to put some water or sand in them so they look right when the actor picks up carries them, monsieur? And suitcases. A love triangle. This goes for books too. It's been done to death. I love a good romance, but I can't stand this trope. It's overdone and easy to do wrong. The overuse of sex scenes, bad, half-asses, or forced romance, are making characters overly sexual. It adds nothing, makes most people uncomfortable, and can take away from everything. Questions, constant questions, poor dialogue, cheesy, formulaic exposition, dogma drivel, forced jokes, etc. Bland plots, shitty science, romantic subplots, remakes of older good movies that were clearly phoned in to make a quick buck by the studio. I hate it when the comic relief nerd uses big words from 5th grade science class to prove that he's a geek. Soapy love stories where the couple is meant to be but they cannot look past some made-up drama. Plot twists that make no sense for mystery movies. Any movie that has the characters break out in song and dance every 5 minutes. Specifically in sci-fi or fantasy movies, when a high-ranking political, military figure is in the front lines. Like, what are you doing here? Why is your general or king fighting right alongside his men? If he dies, all your men are boned. But he is a man of his people. He won't just stay far behind looking at maps all day. He is a man of action. Fuck that. He should be far behind the lines looking at maps all day and directing the bat. Historic and inaccuracies. I am about to study medieval history at uni and I'm extremely interested in history. But I'm not exactly a scholar and only do casual research and reading. If I can see when something is historically inaccurate, a film production involving tens of people whose job it is to get these things right should have notice too. I dunno. A lot of historical accuracy I'll forgive because movies aren't documentaries. Like Apocalypto came under fire for blending Mesoamerican culture. But, like, how many watchable movies about Mesoamerican cultures exist? 5. If they can't pick and choose the most cinematic elements of each, they're just going to think, okay, accuracy is a bother. So instead, let's make Space Aliens vs. Whitey Part 13 inches. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.